For some reason, when I was trying to figure out where things could go or what I could do, that little museum came to me that I experienced in Maine when I was like 19. And I thought to myself, yeah, you could have like a black museum,
Mm-hmm.
you know? No, no, I didn't call it a black museum. I actually called it the Third World Museum. That's what I actually called it.
And
Yeah, yeah. Well, again, I was fortunate enough to have met Dr. King when I was 17 years old. He came to Baltimore. And at the time, I was a paper boy. Well, I was 16. I had a paper route, and I had joined the Lutheran Church, and I heard that Martin Luther was coming to the hip, the Civic Center. But
mm-hmm.
to cut that story in short, I was in San Francisco when they killed King.
Mm-hmm.
I came back to Baltimore because of that. And my daughter was 3 years old, and I figured, let me do the right thing and go back and look after my responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
So I was so disappointed in the community because everybody after they killed King was saying about what are we going to do? I just thought, wait a minute. Well, I'm creative, so I was always creative. So I was thinking, all we got to do is like create. I used to say, all we have to do is create, you know. I didn't know what I was talking about at the time. What helped me a lot, though, was when I was living in San Francisco, I was working at the San Francisco Public Library. And I stumbled across this thing called a Little Red Book. You ever hear of it? Mao Zedong, the Chinese Revolution. And that's what gave me all the insight that I even have today. I felt like if this guy took these peasants, they couldn't even feed themselves. There was 1 billion plus people in China. And Mao Zedong with the Cultural Revolution. Because I saw this as a cultural revolution when I first started. Like, yeah, we need a cultural revolution. We need to change our culture. We need to do things for ourselves, like the Muslims say. You know, I wasn't a Muslim, but I read the Muhammad speak, and they were saying do for self. And I didn't understand why my family, I grew up in a large family, and they couldn't stand riding or walking, right? And I mean, I was like my whole world was turning around. I was saying, oh man, I'm better, I'm understanding, but I didn't know what I could do about it. And things like when I would read the Muhammad speak, and Malcolm would say, the man taught us to hate ourselves. Wow, they opened up doors about my brothers and my sisters who I love dearly. And to this day, they still hate niggas, okay? They don't like niggas. No. I turned that in.
Yeah.
I never felt that way. I used to hear it a lot, my family, you know, and I never felt that way, but my brothers and sisters would say it. And I've been working for myself for 60 years, 60 years now. And to this day, when my family get together, the joke's always on me because Burke ain't never had a job. That's what they say. I ain't never had a job. And I know what they mean, right? I never worked for the white man. But that wasn't my mission. My mission was to try to find out a pathway. The same as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad found a pathway. People say, what are we going to do because of Trump? Join the Muslims. You should join the Muslims. Get away from them Christians. You know, we need to stand on our own 2 feet. Christianity doesn't serve us. It serves them. It kept us from being, it helped to oppress us because we thought we were going to go to heaven and all this crazy stuff. But so I was in San Francisco when they killed King. I was reading Mao Zedong's what was called the Little Red Book. And I had met King when I was 16 years old right here in Baltimore. And the day he was killed, I never forget, I was telling my daughter, I cried that whole night. And I don't know why, because I really wasn't involved in the movement. Not really. I was all about, like a lot of artists, I was very selfish and myopic. All I could think about was being a writer and publishing my stuff and becoming James Baldwin, that kind of thing, you know. But God spoke to me and told me to come back east because my daughter was here. And I saw tanks coming up the street on the riots in Baltimore. And I thought to myself, wow, like if you ever saw the movie Cooley High, at the end, he flew off to California to become a writer. Well, that's what happened. Around 1967, I flew off to California. I wanted to be a great writer. I wanted, you know. Well, like I said, so when the riot broke out and across the country, but especially here in Baltimore, something told me go back home, and because you got a daughter there, and you want to be a part of her world, and your father, and that's what brought me back to Baltimore. And then when I got back to Baltimore, I was so disillusioned because my daughter's mother hated my guts because I didn't marry her, and things just wasn't where I wanted them to be. But I was so disappointed that the black community, within myself, the black community was like docile to me at that time now. At that time, I'd been radicalized for some reason. Well, I was over in Oakland when the Panthers were putting it together. I did go to Oakland. I would photograph. I photographed Angela Davis. I got pictures and stuff like that. All of it. I documented everything with my camera at the time, So I was looking for a way, and I never forget. God came to me like in a dream and said, "Oh, I know what it was. When I used to work in Maine as a teenager, I worked up in New England, and the first time I went to a museum was in New England. Okay. I was in this small town called Ogunquit, and they had a museum. And a friend of mine took me, first time I've been to a museum. Now, I've been to the library with the school, and when I was in school, but I'd never been to a museum. And it was a small museum. It wasn't a big one like the grandiose, the Roman columns and the Greek building type museum. It was a small museum, and I was impressed, And for some reason, when I was trying to figure out where things could go or what I could do, that little museum came to me that I experienced in Maine when I was like 19. And I thought to myself, yeah, you could have like a black museum, No, I didn't call it a black museum. I actually called it the Third World Museum. That's what I actually called it. I did. It was called the Third World Museum. When I do a show in the park, this is the show. This is the building that the city gave me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the city gave me this building in 1971. You can see 72 there. But that's where I'm at when I'm in the park in the summertime, in front of this building.
Wow.
So something said, why don't you try, do what Mao Zedong did, put together a cultural revolution, And I'm thinking, wow, if this guy took 1 billion plus people, and they couldn't even feed themselves in China back then. They really couldn't. The Cultural Revolution is still no more than 80 years old.
Right.
And the thing that's still so phenomenal, today, 2026, the Chinese people went from not being able to feed themselves. He raised 750 million people out of poverty. That's twice the population of America. And they did it in 80 years. Yeah. And they didn't have the internet. They didn't have television. They didn't have radio. All they had was a passion to overcome their situation. That's all they needed. And I tell people that we can do this. We don't need Whitey. We don't need television. All we need is the passion and the initiative to do for self. Yes. Like the Muslims say, do for self. Okay. And we don't have to hate Whitey or resent Whitey, because I went through that too. My family thought when I got involved with this museum that they told my grandmother, who had 19 children. My grandma had 19 children. And she was a Garveyite. You know what Marcus Garvey was, right? I never knew that until she came here one day, because she had heard that I was into this black stuff, And we were still Negroes then, right? And my grandma came here, and she was impressed. But she said to me, Berkeley, they call me Frank, but my name is Berkeley. Okay. She said, Berkeley, it's not nice to hate. And I knew my brothers and sisters, and my mother probably said, he's into that black stuff. Yeah. And at that time, they thought all people who was in the black stuff hated Whitey. No, it never dawned on me to hate Whitey, all right? Because it was a passion. I didn't do it for the money, because I've never made any money. I've been here forever, and I've never made any money. It was to bring, this is what my grandmother, I'm going to tell you what, like my grandma said to me, when she came here, before she died, she was like 89 or 99 when she died, 98. And she said to me, it's not nice to hate. Because my brothers and sisters said I was into hating white people. No, it wasn't. It had nothing to do with it. It never dawned on me to hate white people. It really didn't. No matter what I've been through, I told my grandmother, and I had to give her an answer that was legitimate.
Yeah.
And for the first time, it crystallized for me, too.
Mm-hmm.
I said, you know what happened to me, grandmother? And she said, what, Berkeley? I said, I fell in love with black people.
Mm-hmm.
I did. I absolutely did. To this day, I tell anybody. The only reason I continue, I'm not cynical. I'm not mad at the whores, the prostitutes. I understand. I don't know why I understand because I'm not from that environment, but I do understand. And from my understanding, the passion was created. Meaning, and maybe reading that Mao Zedong, because they were really in bad shape. They were all dope addicts in China. They were all strung out on the opiums and stuff like that. And Mao Zedong turned it all around, and he called it a cultural revolution. We need to change our culture. All right? And things like, so, I've designed these things called Black Christmas cards. And I went into the black churches, and they all had white Jesus and stuff. And I was trying to say, well, wait a minute. We got to change that culture. No, Jesus ain't got no color. How come all of a sudden when we embracing our blackness that Jesus don't have no color now? When you know and I know in all our churches he had white skin, blue eyes, and blonde hair. You know, so one of the first things I did, again, working with the churches, was the Black Christmas cards. We designed these for the black community.
Wow.
You know, because black people were sending white Christmas cards. You know what I'm saying? So we created black Christmas cards. I showed you these, didn't I, Terry? Oh, sorry.
They probably went out. They probably waiting on me.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So we did that one. We did two, 1971. See?
Nice.
And like I said, we were then Third World Museum. You see?
Yes.
We weren't the Black American. And we did this one. We did two, you know. Again, trying to change the culture.
Yes.
So last but not least, I would say to people, and I still say today, listen, when you go to the doctor, this is 2026, not yesteryear, but when you go to the doctor, the first thing he wants is what? He can tell you what's going on with you. All he needs is what? A culture. All right, he needs you to pee or to poot in a jar, and he can tell you what's going on. So we need to embrace our culture. And if we don't, we're lost. Not politics, not religion, not even education. Because the Africans ain't dumb. We need to embrace our culture. Then we can lift ourselves out of this mess that we're in.
Yeah.
Tons of them now, different styles. But this was one of the first ones. This was Kwame Nkrumah. He was the first president of Ghana. The CIA had him assassinated. Dr. King, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Harriet Tubman, Mary Bethune, Marcus Garvey. Judas is the only one with his face covered in shame for betraying Christ. Christ is the only one in garment because nobody knows what color Christ is. Malcolm X, W.B. Du Bois, Booker T. Washington, Paul Robeson, Nat Turner, who led the slave rebellion, the noble Drew Ali of the Moore Science Temple, and Frederick Douglass. When the Muslim got in touch with me about 10 years after I had this picture, and they wanted me to exhibit for one of their things they were doing in West Baltimore. And I said, okay, yeah, I did it. I did a lot of things for free. So I had about 10 pictures. I took it to the show over at the mosque and everything. And at that time, Malcolm X was non grata. They you couldn't even mention Malcolm's name. No Muslim could mention his name. So Malcolm's name was on here. And they told me the picture had to come out because his name was up there. So I said, wait a minute now, listen, I'm doing this for free. If I have to take this out, I'm taking it all back. The hell with this. They're not paying me. I was doing him a favor. But the artist lived in West Baltimore. So I called him. He came over with a can of black paint. And he sprayed Malcolm's name out. And just before the show was over, he came back and wrote it right back in.
Okay.
It didn't damage or take anything aesthetically away from the picture. You see how it ran and actually contribute to the picture. Loneliest Monk. Bebe said when he first heard about the Loneliest Monk, he thought it was the onlyest monk. Wow. Ain't that tough?
Wow.
Ain't that tough?
That is tough. That is crazy.
Somebody sent me that from Britain. That piece there with the man with all the decorations on it, that fought in the Civil War, but he fought for the Confederates, you know? That was sent to me by somebody in England about 40 years ago.
Okay.
Oh, come on, Frank. Shit.
What?
Can you do that?
All right, let's see. Oh, I gotta
Get your glasses. Let me see if I can read.
Wow.
Booker T. Washington. His handwriting. Smoking a cigarette.
Okay.
And of course, I did it for dramatic effect, right? Did that deliberately. And I'm not sitting on the toilet. I'm on that same chair right there. It's called caneback chairs. Those chairs like that.
Hmm.
And I shot into a mirror.
Wow.
You see, there's the camera.
Wow.
You see?
Wow.
I shot into the camera. I was about 22.
That is. That needs to be framed and blown up.
Everyone was telling me I need to go to Atlanta. My brother, by the way, lives in Atlanta.
Okay.
Get his wife. They've been down there about 40 years too. But when I left the East Coast to go to California to become a writer. And then the riots broke out, and I saw the tanks coming up the street, this street right here called Harford Road. And my daughter at that time was only 3 or 2. And God asked me to come back home. But this is the artist that did that crochet in the hall there.
Nice.
Her name is Denise Morgan Burley. It's just some of her crochet work.
Okay. Nice.
That's right. I'll show you.
Okay.
And that's one of their smallest pieces. She's a 97. He shot 2 polar bears.
Oh,
One of
wow.
the few people in the world that's ever owned 2 polar bears. He shot one in Alaska,
Wow.
and he crossed into the Bering Straits into Russia and killed the second one.
Wow.
And as I tell people jokingly, these are his kids, his son and his daughter. And I tell people the bears, they both killed her. See the Luger? He killed her. You know? He was dealt the cards. He rolled the dice. He did the time, you see. And she's still in his heart. He's serenading her. And of course she's deceased, but he killed her out of his passion, you know.
Yeah.
And there
Powerful
she is
piece.
when she was
The
young
head
and
and the
beautiful.
heart. The head and the heart is
That's right.
crazy.
That's right. Right.
Yeah.
That's Nikki Giovanni.
Wow.
And that's the poster we did for her.
Wow.
But I may not be able to come. Newspaper. Made out of newspaper. She was in prison when she did it.
Wow.
Young girl.
What year is this?
Her name was, the year was 1993. So that was almost 34 years ago. Tons of them now, different styles. But this was one of the first ones. This was Kwame Nkrumah. He was the first president of Ghana. The CIA had him assassinated. Dr. King, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Harriet Tubman, Mary Bethune, Marcus Garvey. Judas is the only one with his face covered in shame for betraying Christ. Christ is the only one in garment because nobody knows what color Christ is. Malcolm X, W.B. Du Bois, Booker T. Washington, Paul Robeson, Nat Turner, who led the slave rebellion, the noble Drew Ali of the Moore Science Temple, and Frederick Douglass.